So welcome everyone, and we're looking forward to your discussion today.
So thank you so much for having us, Food Execs, on behalf of all of us. And I'd also like to send a shout out to friends and colleagues that I see appearing in this program. I see you and I value you. Thank you very much. So the state of food media in South Africa. I'd like to set out at the outset that this topic is quite complex and nuanced. And we have a very short space of time to delve into that. But we'd like to encourage you, as the audience, to take these conversations further to your boardrooms, to your circles, and to your friends. So there have been wonderful introductions to our panel already, so I'm not going to go any further except to say that they're all award-winning. So I'm going to give them another hand of another round of applause. Thank you. So to set the scene for you, for those who may not be familiar with the state of media in general in South Africa, here are some key facts and figures. The Mail and Guardian in January published a report with many graphs and many pie charts and much analysis, and they had a lot to say. But there's a couple of takeaways I'd like to share with you. They say that of the 10 media houses analyzed, 4 of them have no Africans on their boards, and by Africans they qualify as black folks. So this includes MNG Media Limited, Media 24, Independent Media, and the Daily Maverick. Overall, there are more men, 64%, than women, 36% at board level. And I just want to break that down to you. So who represents at board level and who comprises the staff with decision-making power, including the writers and the copy editors, affect the following things: content, the stories of people of color and how we are represented, and thirdly, the scope for growth of young people of color in this media industry, many of whom come from homes that remain in a continuous financial and social generational deficit. So, moving on from there to our esteemed panel, there's a word that pops up quite a lot: diversity. We strive towards it, we embrace it in theory, we agree it's crucial. What have your personal experiences been in the workplace with this concept diversity? Sandy, so can we start with you?
Diversity. I kind of think a lot of the time when we do speak of diversity, we kind of speak of diversity in terms of the people resources. So it's about, as you were saying, how many people we have in a certain board, or how many people we have in a publication on the editorial staff. But what we don't tend to think about is the diversity in the content. So the content that we're producing, does it speak to the population? Our population, I think, is 80% black, but if you page through a Fresh Living or whatever food magazine it is, it's crazy how there's no transformation in the content itself. So who is this demographic that we are speaking to as writers, as journalists, if we are not telling the stories of the majority of the population?
Just to add to that, not to take away from the publications that are directing their resources, and etc. But in terms of we as writers and journalists, the ones that we tend to strive towards, the big nationals and the glossies, how diverse are they and how diverse is the content? And one of the things I wanted to touch on is you were a former lifestyle journalist covering a lot of these stories for some of the top publications, and from what I hear, this is one of the reasons that you left.
It became very frustrating for me. Like, it often feels like, as I'm saying, when we speak of diversity, we just speak of people and numbers. But, you know, as a black person, you are coming into a space that already was designed to exclude you. So you kind of have to adapt to the culture, as opposed to the culture being, okay, we are no longer in apartheid state, so the culture in the newsroom needs to change to accommodate the rest of the population. So it often felt like I'm always trying to be white in order to be able to tell these stories that my editors want me to tell.
And to fit in,
and to fit in, you know, in the community, like around media and all of that, it became frustrating.
So this is very consistent with the reports and interviews I've done with writers of color, particularly in food media. Sepang, what's your experience been in terms of this concept of diversity?
Oh, what a heavy word. I become a little bit tired of playing Oppression Olympics because I think we need to recognize that diversity doesn't mean replacement. I think that we miss each other in the conversation because giving access in a broad, black-based, black way means it must be broad. So don't only ask yourself, are we black enough? Don't ask yourself, are we women enough? I remember a few years ago, well, if we're speaking personally, on Sunday in the car, I was actually telling my sister, when the opportunity came to go to university, media was the last degree. Because my father works so hard, and his anxiety came from going from hard work straight into poverty. And I'm speaking from a place of privilege, where university was even an option. I remember a few years ago reading in the newspaper, and even on Twitter, about internships where people were earning 500 Rand. Now the access to those internships, is it poor? Is it differently able? Is it transgender? Is it cisgender? What does it look like? Because if I am living close enough to town that a 500 Rand internship doesn't buckle me at the knees, then it's fine, I have access. But if I'm in a wheelchair and I need to take a train from Khayelitsha, I might be the most talented food editor you've ever seen. But suddenly, the room that you're looking to make diverse will never look that way. Because the intersectionalities that exist don't allow for all of those broad changes.
And that's definitely something we're going to get into as well, with the word intersectionality. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. You see it in all our publications. But Zola, in the television space, the dynamic is slightly different in that we see quite a representation and a representation of black women. Can you speak to us about that?
I can indeed. I just want to apologize for my dabbing. I get really, really hot quickly, so I apologize. You'll see that periodically. For me, before I even delve into the TV aspect, I sort of recognized the lack of diversity very early on in my career. I will call it that. I sort of started my chef career as a second career, if you will. I sort of went out of school to do law, and then I realized, oh, actually, I want to be a lawyer, so let me do this instead. And sitting in my chef class, I kind of looked around. I was the oldest, and I looked around, and I was like, wow, I'm literally the only black face in here. And that's when I became so conscious of the fact that there aren't very many people who look like me who are doing what I do. So I was sort of aware of the lack of diversity very early on in my career, which is why I sort of strive to do something different to make myself noticeable so that I could get further, if you will. In terms of the TV space, you're right. There are more people who we can all recognize and sort of associate with and see ourselves in, and that's the entire point. And I think that we've still got a long way to go, because if you look in the kitchens, traditional chef kitchens, the roles are primarily, excuse me, my English is failing me, are primarily, afforded to men in that role, and there are less women in the traditional kitchen sense, and even more so black females. So I think we still have a long way to go in terms of the traditional chefing career, but like you said, in terms of TV, in terms of media even though we're sort of taking baby steps, I think that we are definitely heading towards that way. And the fact that we're having conversations like this is just testament to the fact that everybody wants diversity. Nobody's trying to block it. It's just a matter of finding a way to sort of navigate where we all fit in and we don't threaten each other. That's the...
And to that, I'd like to add, there's been such a difference in the last 3 years. I have been reporting on this, I've been watching, speaking to people, to many of you as well. There have been changes in 3 years, positive changes. So in equity parlance, we speak of inclusivity. So that's taking the diversity one step further and making the workspaces, the production spaces accessible to those we want to include. Michal, your book was recently published and it's on its 4th reprint. Tell us, what were your experiences in regard to this inclusivity? Was it quite a straightforward process?
It really wasn't, unfortunately. So I'd been giving these cooking classes for a couple of years, and then I set out to publish a cookbook. And for me, at the time, I thought this is very straightforward. I have a following, and this is South Africa, 80% black country. Of course, this is going to work. And the amount of no's that I got was overwhelming. No's from, we can't publish this book. This book won't work. That market, they don't buy books. Or, and it's a double whammy because not only are they black, who apparently don't read, but also they're millennials, and millennials apparently don't buy books. So I think inclusivity and transformation is not just, a cultural thing or a gender and race thing, but it's also an age thing. I think that whoever sits on those panels and gets to decide what books we're publishing, the change has to not only be the gender and the race, but also the age.
For sure, because we're living, whether you love it or not, and I'm sure most of you love it, in a social media age. And the people on those boards, the people in directorship positions, certainly in marketing, have to understand and embrace and speak this language. Sandiso, after years of writing lifestyle content, which we've covered just now, and navigating what is still quite a heteronormative, white-dominated space, you decided to leave. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about that. I know you started earlier, but there were various frustrations that you experienced.
Yeah, sure. So for everyone who doesn't know, I'm gender non-conforming, which means I don't identify as either male, a man or a woman. I'm in the middle somewhere. Some people call it a third gender. And besides being queer over and above my gender identity, there's sort of just no recognition for that. Sometimes I feel like as humans, even though we recognize change and we speak very idealistic things about being liberal, we don't tend to apply it in the things that we do. For instance, sometimes when I'm trying to buy clothing from fashion designers who design women's wear, they refuse to sell stuff to me because they say they're not a woman. And I'm like, well, I'm not a man either, so what are you gonna do? Kind of thing. And I really often feel like with media specifically, we still haven't gotten to that place where the stories that we tell are really inclusive in that intersectional way that we speak of in our own social circles and make ourselves feel liberal. And I sort of just never saw that happening in the media space. And people in media generally see themselves as liberal.
So I've heard you speak about the possibility of creating these spaces, be it small journals and whatnot. And I was thinking, what can we do to include this incredibly large number of readers of color, because Mukau has confirmed that the millennials buy books and they read books too, whom we are not catering to.
Exactly, but the thing is, if you are not publishing books that they are interested in, why do you expect them to be reading things that are not interested in? You know what I mean? Like for me personally, I don't like buying a magazine full of recipes. Like reading a story
Whoa.
No, hold up. I mean, there's a space for it. I'm not saying take it out completely, but when you have a 100-page magazine and 80 pages are recipes, I'm just like, oh. Because at the end of the day, I love food, but I also like being creative. But you're just giving me instructions. Whereas if you are telling me stories, you are inspiring me to be creative. I was listening to Julie earlier, and I felt inspired. Whereas if she was standing here telling me 3 tablespoons of salt, those are instructions. You know what I mean? So I think that also when we talk about diversity in content, what I was referring to earlier, it's also about that, just telling the stories. And if it's about black people, where do black people eat? What are they eating? we have such a diverse population in this country, and I always say, even when I'm traveling, I find that getting to know people in a specific country is something that I do through food. And I feel like if we learn more about the diverse food cultures that we have in this country, we can learn a whole lot more about each other.
Absolutely. So, Pang, we started earlier speaking about inclusivity and intersectionality. There aren't very many black women wine writers. I thought perhaps you'd like to address that.
On Thursday, I had the very great privilege of being at the launch of The Colour of Wine, which tells the story of 3 black winemakers and 1 black viticulturist. But by the time the book had come out, I think the documentary's already been out for about 2 years. And you know, it's not the first time we've heard Ziki's story. And I also think with me, it's probably not the first time you've heard a version of my story. And I'm not the only black wine writer. I think the difference with me is I'm a bit like Zola. And I think someone earlier said something where I thought, I feel that in my gut, where you are aware of the fact that this space doesn't look like you. But at the same time, you have to be the rise to the occasion. So when the opportunity came to do the introductory Cape Wine Academy brand course, I grabbed it with both hands, and then I was told for the following 3 days there'll be an advanced course. And then I grabbed that with both hands. And by December, which was the 4th time I'd applied for Veritas and entered, by December I had the qualification. So if you were going to say no to me, you needed a really good reason at that point. And then when the opportunity came to do WSET, Kathy Marston had given me such a kind offer. She said to me, look, you're in media, do it as a comp. And I said to her, no, you know what, I'd rather pay. Because again, I recognize the fact that I'm a salaried person, and although it's a lot of money, I want to invest. I want to be so good that when you ignore me, I want to ask you why. And I want to do it with both eyes open. So I did my WSET level 2, and she said to me, well, you still have a free course. And then a few months later, I heard the most devastating story. There's a cooking school called Ezigo, which is not too far from here in Cape Town. And the cooking school burned down. And one of my editors at the time posted something on Facebook about if you have pillows, books, give. And I thought, well, I have a course. I have a London accredited course to give. So instead of me sitting here and being the only black, which is also very unnecessary, I don't see the need for that, let me give somebody else the opportunity to sit at the table. And then I got a phone call from Eric. I was sitting in my office at work in Joburg. And I'm like, whose number is this? I really don't answer phone numbers, I don't know. But I'm going to particular jargon. And he said to me, our student passed. I've never seen this man to this day. And I felt the hug in that phone call. So the only conversation that I want to have about access and privilege is who else do we give it to? We can't eat this cake alone. It's quite a big cake. And I think that that's what makes me anxious, is people almost act like when you cut some more, there won't be more for the next person. The reality is that's what inclusivity is, and that's what diversity means. For some bizarre reason, our economy didn't shut down in 1994. The more black people, the more women, the more people of different physical abilities that you give access to, the more there is. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're taking away. That's why I keep repeating that it's not a replacement scheme. It's to broaden.
Really truly making the table longer. Having said that, so within this idea of diversity, and you know, we're only covering certain aspects. As Tsepang brought up, there are many things that we're not covering at the, but we'd like you to take that conversation and the thinking to your tables. But within this broad idea of what diversity is, there are also tremendous differences in our upbringing, our perspective, even our personal aspirations. And Zola, we have spoken about the general media and the public's obsession with painting black creators with the same brush in terms of the expectations. I thought maybe you'd like to address that.
Yeah, for me, more than covering it in terms of black and white, etc., I'd like to cover it in terms of culturally, because this is a personal experience of mine. So being in the sort of public eye, if you will, I get a lot of feedback from people, which is wonderful. Something which I refer to it as cultural bullying. And I know bullying is a big word, but this is the feeling it gives me. So I'm Zulu, I'm black, I don't know if you noticed, and I happen to be a female as well. So I'm like, yes, I'm somebody out there who looks like you, young black female who's interested in food. How exciting. Yet often, within the industry too, I get culturally bullied. So because I am Zulu and I don't sound like what you think a Zulu person should sound, I'm not Zulu enough. Because I'm black and I don't potentially look like the black person that you know and understand, I'm not black enough. Why? Why can't I be Zulu in my own way and that be okay? For example, I grew up in George. I was born in Durban, but my family moved to George very early in my life. So my cultural reference is what my parents taught me. So I wasn't part of a mass group of Zulu people. So not all Zulu cultures speak to me directly. But that doesn't make me any less Zulu than the next person. And I find that people questioning my Zuluness, my blackness, is really something that is counterproductive in terms of diversity and inclusion. And I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced such a thing, but it's something that that's making me emotional. It's something that I experience often. And I just wonder, what is it that I can do to convince you that what my cultural reference is authentic? It is what I come from. It may be different to anyone else's Zulu cultural reference, but it doesn't make it any less real. So, yeah, that's something that I often talk about with Ishe, because I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I can only offer what my story is, and my story is my real story. Why do you need to tear that down? Why is it not enough for you?
And I think the editors and people involved in production and direction of our publications and programs, perhaps sitting in this room, also need to take that into account. That in trying to achieve this diversity, which you want and the audiences want, there's nuance and there's subtleties there as well. You cannot place people into different boxes. But it's very clear, certainly as I said in the last 3 years, it's perceptible, it's tangible that we are ripe for change and that the revolution is at the door. It's been knocking and we are ready to open. Mevrouw, what would you like to see change so that our stories are better represented in print, TV, and other mediums?
I think that based on my own personal experience, I think that the change has to happen everywhere. So not just on TV, not just in the magazine, but especially with the people that have the power to make those decisions. So I think about, what my journey and how many cookbooks didn't make it to the store simply because of the people you were pitching this book to. If they didn't get it, then it's not going to get published and it's not going to reach the public. So when they say that there's no demand, but if there's no supply, then what's the point?
Exactly, because I think to some extent, and Sandy, so you covered this in previous conversations too, that we do have the power to influence demand, we do have the power to influence content.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another point I wanted to make. I think people in publishing tend to forget that they do have that influence, to influence culture. And I sort of feel like with the digital age, what we've sort of let happen is let social media dictate what the agenda is. And we've sort of relinquished that power to social media. But you do, as editors, have the power to influence, first of all, the things that people think about, the things that people talk about. And it's important that you if you care about these issues, to cover them in your publications, so we can begin as people to start talking about them. You can't expect an influencer, an individual sitting somewhere, to lead that kind of conversation. It just doesn't work like that.
But having said that, a lot of what's happening in the digital space is very relevant. Perhaps the revolution is
It's relevant, but I've worn so many hats in my life. I'm also a former consumer trends researcher. And I think social media is, like using it, it's quite effective at looking at the trends, what are people talking about, but not taking those stories and making those stories what you are publishing. You know, you are the trained professional who's trained at how to speak to mass, expecting influencers to do that on your behalf, which is something we see a lot in publications lately. Influencers are writing articles and it's just like, this person has clearly not done research. Whereas you as a professional, you would have gone and done that. So I think it's important that we don't relinquish that power. And unfortunately, I'm starting to feel like, as the traditional publishing industry, it's a ticking time bomb. And I don't know whether it's a little bit too late, but I'm certainly losing hope in the traditional publishing model.
Well, maybe we have a minute or two just to discuss something that is quite hopeful. We speak of mentorship, and I know that puts a lot of stress and pressure on the shoulders, particularly because people on this particular panel are the embodiment of excellence in every way. You know, it's true, I'm speaking the truth. If you could, what facilities, programs, or outlets would you like to see for young or even older aspiring chefs, writers, stylists of color? Maybe Zola, you could.
Truthfully, I wish that I had the time and the ability to mentor more people. I mean, the amount of young people who are like, please, will you mentor me? And I take the term very seriously. And I've mentored a couple of people in my short life. Let's call it short, I'm actually quite old. And I do take it all seriously. I want to be able to really say by the end of the mentorship that I've taught you something, that you can go off and do something with whatever skill or what I've exposed you to. What I'd love to see, because I know for me, it was very important for me to be educated in my field. For me, I'm not saying that that's everybody's stance, but for me, I realized that going into the chefing profession, first of all, I was a female, so already that meant, I'm going to have to fight, for respect. So I was adamant that I wanted to take the 3 years and study to be a chef, even though I was the oldest person in the class. Embarrassing, but fine. And the reason why I knew that I wanted this was because anytime I walked into a kitchen, and this is exactly what you mentioned before, every time I walked into a kitchen filled with men, because I was a chef, no matter what they thought of me as a female, lesser than them in their minds, they had to say, yes, chef, because I had that. So that for me is sort of the first stepping stone. So I'd love to see more education facilities available to people who can't really afford it or just don't have access. Because I know how important that first stepping stone to give you the confidence to do so much more is. So for me, that's the one thing that I think.
Sorry, can I add, but that's also where the importance of representation comes in. Like when I grew up, I can't remember reading anywhere about a non-binary person. So I thought a lot of the things that I've achieved in my own life were not achievable for someone like me. So when you see a Zola who is a chef and she's a black woman and you're a black girl, you start thinking, it's possible.
This is why we keep saying over and over and over and repeat and rinse and repeat that representation matters. It truly, truly does. So I think that we have a few seconds left, and we would love to ask the audience if they have any questions, but before that I would just like to thank this panel so much, because as much as they presented themselves with ease and grace, and amongst our private circles we speak about this a lot, it is a draining topic. It is a tough topic. We never know how the audience sitting in front of us, who maybe haven't dealt with this or spoken about it so much, how you're processing it. So thank you so much.
Very, very insightful. Lots of topics were raised. I feel like we could continue and jump into every single one, but I'd like to open up the floor for questions if anyone has any, or if they would like to offer solutions, or just continue the conversation.
Hi, I'm Bokhadi Itsweng, a chef, stylist, and also a food writer. So I worked in media for quite a few years as a food editor. And what really needs to change is, like you said, it's not the editors, it's the back. The people that are in the boards of these media houses. Because I worked in a black magazine. I worked at True Love as a food editor for 3 years. And in those 3 years, a lot changed. We had an editor who was amazing, and she was all about representation, and she pushed that. Got to a point where she was pushed out. She had no voice. She couldn't change anything because at the end of the day, she doesn't really have power. She takes the lead from the people at the back. So we need to actually change those boards. The board people, the people that are in the boards. If for instance you are Media 24 and you're running a black magazine, you need to have a black person in that board representing that cultural group. Because at the end of the day, we were told you can't have food pages that have prawns, for instance. Black people don't eat prawns. I'm like, what are you talking about? So those kind of things. And it's like that with everything. Clothes. You can't have these kind of clothes. Black people don't have money to buy them. Black people don't buy Le Creuset. And for me, when Le Creuset started advertising True Love, their sales went up in particular stores that are black owned. Not black owned, but that have black demographics. So for me, it's the people in the back. It's not the editors. The editors really are just pen pushers, literally. They push somebody else's agenda. So I think if transformation is going to happen, it needs to happen there. And that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Perfect. Just before I go to you, I do have to apologize because I made a mistake as well in introducing Sandy. So I used the pronoun he instead of they. So just to let you know, but I think it's important to say because, as you said, you think that you're liberal, you think that you're learning, but I forgot. Yes. So that's it. Sorry. Over to you, Sam. I'll come to you.
So I'm just going to add on to Bokhadi's point. I'm Thando. I used to be a food blogger. I've done some writing, but actually my point is to the fact that I worked in corporate South Africa for most of my life, and the point is that we need more voices that have influence. So for example, the people who are executives on the board, they don't have black friends, they don't have gender non-conforming friends. So it's up to our white heteronormative counterparts who are sitting here to start talking about the challenges that are facing South Africa and start influencing within your circle, because it's so much harder for us to get there. And when you're in, let's say, corporate South Africa, you're painted as the angry black woman who's trying to further herself by using this agenda. So in fact, this needs to stop being a conversation that we have amongst ourselves, but a broader conversation about how we're going to change the economic landscape of South Africa, and the way we do that is by being more inclusive.
Anyone else would like to? Perfect.
Hi, my name's Luby. I'd like to add on to what Thandi has just said. Is it Thandi? Where are we? Thando. Hi, Thando. So I'm one of those people, in a way, that you speak about, who is working in a space where the food that I'm working with is not my tradition from Yonsugo. I'm working with indigenous food from the Western Cape. And what I'd like to say is that it's a tough job to walk that path. I am a woman, but I'm not San or Khoi. And I'm dealing with food which is San and Khoi, heritage food. And I would like this space to open much more, to be a safe space for people like me who wants to be a voice and who wants to partner with people and use the influence that I can have. But it's a very difficult walk to walk, because there is anger, and justifiably, of course, there is anger. But people like us need to learn, things like actually really beginning to understand what white privilege is as a white person. These conversations, these difficult conversations, need to be had in safe spaces. So together we can actually work for an outcome that we all want.
And I think we're all very grateful that this really does feel like a very safe space. So if anyone else has any questions, otherwise we'll wrap things up. So time for one more. Would any of you like any last thoughts?
We have many thoughts, so I think at this point, because we could take these into many directions. Again, thank you so much for listening. We look forward to seeing more diversity beyond the September Heritage issue. Darcy Magazine, special shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening, and let's work together. Thank you.
For sure. Lots of points taken, for sure, for all of us. Okay, perfect. So up next we have Lily Jones. She's a London-based baker extraordinaire, and she boasts clients like Elton John and Stella McCartney. She also finds time to give back from her successful business. She is the co-founder of the Young British Foodie Awards, as well as Bake for Syria. So welcome.